evening. Good evening and welcome. I am Carla Cargle with the Financial Truth with Carla Cargle, and welcome to our Wealth and Prosperity Book Club. Our featured book for the month of February 2018 is How to Be Rich. Let me say that again. How to Be Rich. It is a compilation book that is comprised of various authors that are world-renowned, that have written books and essays and given speeches around the world that have transformed and uplifted and motivated and inspired people to live the life of wealth, prosperity, and abundance. And today, I am going to share with you certain aspects of the book. I won't go over the entire book, of course. I'm just going to point out specific areas that I believe are important and will add value to you as you too live the life of wealth, prosperity, and abundance. Hopefully you have read the book, and if not, you still can purchase it. And you can get the hard copy. I love hard copy books because I like to do the old-fashioned. You know, you can touch the book and I can make notes in the book and highlight and all that. So I personally love having the hardback. However, there are a lot of people that enjoy the ebook as well. So it is available in both formats. So please, if you have not read the book, it's never too late. You can still read it, come back to the presentation, and exchange notes and points, and still provide me with questions and feedback at your convenience. That's one of the great values of having Facebook. You can post the videos and post the presentations, and they'll always be there for you to view and gain from and learn from. So I'm going to get started this evening. And again, today's featured book, How to Be Rich. Let's get started. The first section I want to kind of emphasize is a section that has been contributed to the book by the great Wallace Wattles. Now, you probably have heard of him. One of his most popular books is called The Science of Getting Rich. So there's a compilation portion here that we want to share it. And Wallace Wattles simply says, affirm always, there is no poverty despite appearances. Affirm always, there is no poverty despite appearances. And out of this section, there is one statement that resonates that I believe if we allow our minds to really grasp it and seed it into our thought process, it will truly help us to elevate ourselves to live in that realm of wealth, prosperity, and abundance. And that statement by Wallace Wattles is this. That fact is that there is one thinking substance from which and by which all things are made. One thinking substance. Now, if we think about that, that allows us to really consider that the same mind that so many people have allowed to convince them of poverty, lack, not enough, living paycheck to paycheck, whatever that state is that contradicts the life of wealth, prosperity, and abundance. There's so many people that have allowed their mind to be convinced that that is their reality. Now think about it, what I just said. Because all that is happening in the mind. Because ultimately, that's where the reality of how we are, what we are, takes place. So if a person has allowed that to be their reality, just think what will happen if those thoughts, that mind that has grasped and allow that contradictory way of life, lack and poverty, to set in, if we allow that mind, that one thinking substance, to be transformed, rid itself of all the negativity, all the lack, all the poverty, and allow it to be uplifted into the realm of wealth, prosperity, and abundance, then that thinking substance that allowed you to be in line with lack is the same thinking substance that can lift you up to a life of wealth, prosperity, and abundance. So just think on that, meditate on that, and allow yourself to really grasp that truth, that it's in the thinking part, the mind. Let's get our minds in alignment with the truth of how God created us to live, because wealth is for all. And again, I talked about it in last month's The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity. Wealth is for all. Now that, of course, can be relative based on what wealth is for you and yours. But again, it begins and it is centered in the mind, that thinking substance. So let's move on. Next, there's an author that's featured in the compilation book How to Be Rich, called Christian Larson. And they have a section in here called Create Wealth Instead of Competing for It. Again, create wealth instead of competing for it. And here's a statement out of their section. It goes, riches secured by destructive competition are never satisfactory and permanent. They are yours today and another's tomorrow. Remember, if you are to become rich in a scientific and certain way, you must rise entirely out of the competitive thought. You must never think for a moment that the supply is limited. Now, what happens when we allow our thought process or our expectations to be linked into competition? You know, we're competing. That competition simply means that somebody else has what I want, so I have to beat them out to get it. Now, wealth is for all. Wealth, prosperity, and abundance is the truth of reality based on how God created it to be. So we really don't have to compete for it. If we allow ourselves to go into that thought process, that mind, and engage with ourselves, that greatness of us, that gifts and talents, the gifts and talents that we have been given, then we won't have to compete for it because it's already there. We just have to allow it to be tapped in and flow to us and through us. So when you think about competing for it, and you have to get it from the Joneses, or you have to get it from the Smiths, or you have to get it in a way that means that somebody else has to lose in order for you to have it, then that is not the means in which wealth and prosperity is built. Because if I get it and quote unquote win it from someone, then it's temporary. Why is it temporary? Because that means that someone else is going to want to come and win it and take it from me. So there's always that position of being in a temporary state of being because it's really not yours, because it's like a prize. So the prize is always up for grabs. First place is always up for grabs. The Super Bowl trophy is always up for grabs. So when we live and build our wealth in a way that's based on competition, just understand your wealth will be temporary. And I don't mean competition of people that participate in sports or that type of competition. I mean competition as though you have to get it because you're going to win it, or figure out a way to get it from someone else. That's the type of competition I'm talking about. So you want to build your wealth and grow your wealth, not based on competition. You just want it to be based on the true nature of your gifts, your talents, your purpose that you have been given in order to fulfill in life. Let's move on. There's another section in this Christian Larson piece that's entitled Create Wealth. Instead of competing for it, create. Let me just speak on that for a minute. Because create, that means it is coming out of the creative part, the creative aspect, your creative genius. It's coming forth through the creative thoughts, if it's an idea, an invention, a service, product. Creative wealth. Not competitive wealth, but creative wealth. Just think on that word, creative, and allow yourself to tap into what your creative genius is. We all have it. Everyone has been born with some type of creative genius. If it's art, if it's singing, if it's speaking, if it's writing, if it's growing plants, if it's engineering, if it's sports, if it's acting, whatever it is, there is a form of creative genius in all of us. And let's allow our minds and our spirits to become aligned together and tap into it. But that portion that it states here, so never allow yourself to think for an instant that all the best building spots will be taken before you get ready to build your house unless you hurry. Never worry about the conglomerates and cartels and get anxious for fear they will soon come to own the whole earth. Never get afraid that you will lose what you want because some other person beats you to it. That cannot possibly happen. You are not seeking anything that is possessed by anybody else, because what's yours is yours. Your creative genius is unique to the world. It's unique to the universe, because even though it might be a form of art, the way you do it is going to be entirely different if it's just a pinch different than someone else. So it's understanding that what you offer is what is going to allow you to stay in alignment with with living that life of wealth, prosperity, and abundance. Creative wealth, not competition, is one of the ways that leads you to live that life of wealth, prosperity, and abundance. Now, going on, I'm just going to go through the various messages that have been shared in the book. The next one is on page 49. And this message resonates through any prosperity, wealth book that you will ever read, any message that you will probably ever hear. They all are going to lead back to one of these principles. And it simply is, in order to get, we must give. This one is by Ralph Waldo Trine. And again, in order to get, we must give. So it's important that we understand that, and that was talked about also again last month in the Dynamic Laws of Prosperity by Catherine Ponder. And we talked about the significance of giving into the flow. In order to get from the flow, you must receive, in order to receive from the flow, you must give to the flow. Because it's all a cycle. It's all a cycle. So the message in the book by Ralph Waldo Trine, in order to get, you must give. He just simply talks about only those who serve are worthy of success. So giving also is a form of serving. So if you're a volunteer, you're giving of your time, you're giving of your energy, you're giving of your heart, you're giving of your money. Giving is a way of seeding into the flow of the universe. And as you seed, then you receive. And again, as I said last month, you reap what you sow. If you sow wealth, prosperity, and abundance, love, gifts, talents, volunteering, helping someone else to achieve their goals, helping others in the community, being a volunteer, a mentor, and big brother, big sister, giving in your tithes and offering. Yes, I said tithes. The word tithes, don't let that word scare you away. That's just another form of giving and allowing yourself to commit to the fact that you put God first in your giving. And giving a tenth is which the tithe represents a tenth. Some people discuss that and say that it could, be whatever percentage that you decide. I'm not going to get off into any depth about that today. But technically, the tithe is a tenth. So giving of your time, your talents, your money is a part of reaping the harvest of wealth, prosperity, and abundance. Excuse me. I am working through some allergies today. Also, let's hit up on some other topics here. And this one is by, let's see, Julia Seaton. And never fear despite an empty purse. Never fear despite an empty purse. It is not in the doing, but in the being opulent that we get power. We must know how to look behind the things created into the energy that creates, and this recognition held steadfastly brings life into relation with higher lines of attraction. Never fear despite an empty purse. And basically, if I can paraphrase, that's just simply saying, if you look up and you don't have any coins, any currency in your pocket, in your bank account, in your financial storehouses, never fear, because it's always in the flow. There's always more. There is not a limited supply. And that goes back to the statement that Wallace Wattles talked about, is that there's only one thinking substance that manifests either way, if it's wealth or poverty, prosperity or lack. That one thinking substance. And if we allow ourselves to be in alignment with understanding that we must stay in oneness with the creative process, understanding that we are not living in a limited state of anything. There's always more. We talked about that last month. There's always more. There's never, ever a shortage, because when you look around us, if you look around you, just think right now in this moment, in this here and this now. And I'm not talking about 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 5 days from now. Whenever you look and view this presentation, think about what's going on right here, right now, and in the moment. And allow yourself to grasp the abundance, the more than enough that is with you then and now. Because when you allow your thought process, your mind, to stay in alignment with the truth of abundance, then the thoughts of lack, not enough, or even looking and saying, right now in my purse or in my pocket or in my wallet, I have zero, that won't affect you, because you understand and know that there's always more than enough. There's always abundance. And as you give into the flow, you can be assured that you're going to receive from the flow. So just stay in alignment with the principles. Stay focused on operating in the principles of truth, of abundance, wealth, and prosperity. And you shall continue as you give, as you reap, you shall sow. Continuing on. Again, we're going over the book, How to Be Rich. It's a compilation book of various authors. We have Napoleon Hill is featured in here. Joseph Murray is featured in here. Wallace Wattles. There's just a whole compilation of world-renowned authors that are featured in this book, providing us with empowering messages and truths on living the life of wealth, prosperity, and abundance. There's one here that I want to feature regarding Napoleon Hill. And that one is on page, let's see. Okay, we're going to take our time here. We don't have to rush, because I want to make sure that I share valuable information that truly is going to empower, enlighten, and set you free. You know, they say if you know the truth shall, the truth shall set you free. So we want you to be free and living the abundant life. Page 75, this is the one I wanted to discuss. And it's entitled, Don't Live in Procrastination, Land of the Poor. Don't live in procrastination, the land of the poor. That is by Napoleon Hill. Don't live in procrastination, the land of the poor. And basically what he talks about is be quick to decide and slow to revise. And one of the points he makes is that generally the majority of people who fail to accumulate money sufficient for their needs are also easily influenced by the opinions of others. So what that is saying is that what Napoleon Hill's point is saying is that when we are influenced by the opinion of others, that means that we are not allowing ourselves to operate in our own mind, which again is the beginning of the whole process of understanding and building and living a life of wealth, prosperity, and abundance. So it's operating with your own mind and not in the opinion of others. So when we waver and are not able to make decisions, sound decisions, and we allow ourselves to procrastinate on decisions about what we should do, should we save, shouldn't we save, what job should we have, where we should go, who we should associate with, and that list can go on, then we are allowing ourselves to kind of be stagnated, and we can't move forward if we are just operating in, well, I have to see what they say. Let me get their opinion. Let me see what their opinion is. Let me see what they say, what they have to contribute to what I should think. But when you allow your thought process to truly go into alignment, meaning go into the spirit, allowing God's thoughts, God's mind, God's spirit, God's presence to lead and guide us and strengthen us, then we will come into a place of peace that will enable you to truly know what is truly best for you in whatever that situation is. That peace, that soundness, that inner strength that you have no doubt that it's the presence and the power of God's mind, the peace of God, the wisdom of God. So, of course, I am speaking from a spiritual perspective because ultimately that is where it all begins. So with that said, just understand procrastination is a means of poverty, or it can lead to poverty if we don't allow ourselves to make wise decisions and get beyond hovering and just make a decision, move forward. And even if for whatever reason at that moment or based on that situation, the decision that you made might not have been the best decision, at least you have made a decision and moved into whatever that situation is to determine if where you are is best. And if not, then you have to reevaluate and make another decision. But you have to make choices and think for yourself. Think for yourself, not allow the crabs to pull us down, tell us what to think, tell us what to say, tell us what to do. Pick up books like How to Be Rich and other books that will be featured in the Wealth and Prosperity Book Club of The Financial Truth with Carla, Cargle. Allow ourselves to read, feed our minds, our souls, our energy, our being with good thoughts, empowering thoughts, liberating thoughts, wealth, prosperous, and abundant thoughts. And you will be able to move forward and not live in a state of procrastination. That's a tricky word for me, as you can see. Let's move on to a couple more points, and then we shall close out, because again, the book is available again via, now I have the book posted on my Facebook page. There's a link where you can buy the book. You can buy again the hard copy, or you can get the ebook. But it's all available. I have a link available for you to get the book. Reading is liberating. Reading is empowering. And if you are anyone that has talked about how you want your life to be better, you want to live a life of wealth, which means total well-being, if you want to make a positive, empowering difference in your life, your family's life, the community, the world and universe around you, then I encourage you to understand that reading, feeding your mind, your soul with goodness, truths, is the means and the way in order for you to achieve a lot of what you're wanting to achieve in life. Let me go to page 78 and 79. And again, this is Julia Seaton, and I just wanted to point out this page as well because she also talks about procrastination and the going to do it trap. In other words, you know how so many of us talking about, well, I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to do it next week. When are you going to start saving? I'm going to start saving when I make more money. When are you going to start saving in your 401k? I'm going to start saving in my 401k when I get my raise, or when I make X dollars. Or when am I going to get a sound financial plan? I'm going to get a sound financial plan when I believe that I have the type of job that requires that. I'm not an executive yet, or I'm not in management yet. I don't make enough money for that. When are you going to tithe and give of offering? I mean, there's so many points that I can go. When are you going to volunteer more in the community? When are you going to allow yourself to tap into your creative genius and truly allow the purpose that you have been birthed into the universe to fulfill? When are you going to allow that to take place? And so many of us have that response, I'm going to do it later. Don't go on to do it later. Do it now. The best time is right here and right now. That's what you are certain of. I am certain that I am here today, right here and right now. And that's why I'm sitting here providing this presentation. This is a way for me to give of my talents, my gifts, my fulfilling my purpose that I believe God has embedded and empowered and equipped for me to do. So I am here, right now, today, giving back. And I'm not talking about doing it next week. I'm doing it now. So you too, figure it out what that is for you and do it in the right here and the right now. One other section, and then I'm going to move on because I don't want the presentation to be too long, because I could talk and talk and talk. But I won't. I'm just going to close out with a couple of more points. And that is on page, let's see, page 157. As you can see, I've skipped around quite many areas in the book. Now, this is a great book. The entire book is great. I've read it at least 5 times myself. Any book that I'm presenting to you, I have read the book numerous times. And we're going to get to one of the books that I actually wrote that I'm going to share in the Wealth and Prosperity Book Club. But Mental Roads to Wealth by Joseph Murphy, that is on page 157 in the book. And basically what he does, he just has written some affirmations that he has incorporated in his life. Well, his life at that point. He is deceased now. And he just basically talks about how you have to have a positive relationship with money. Allow yourself to think positively about money, about wealth, about living a prosperous life. Because if you speak negatively about something, we can expect to receive positive energy from something that we feed negative energy into. So this is affirmation that he has in his section. It's called Mental Roads to Wealth. And he just simply says, I like money. I love it. I use it wisely, constructively, and judiciously. Money is constantly circulating in my life. I release it with joy, and it returns to me multiplied in a wonderful way. It is good and very good. Money flows to me in avalanches of abundance. I like that. Avalanches of abundance. I use it for good only. I use money for good only. And I am grateful for my good and for the riches of my mind. That affirmation was written by Joseph Murphy in the compilation section of the book called Mental Roads to Wealth. And I encourage you to create and write an affirmation that empowers you and feeds and seeds that energy of positivity and prosperity and wealth and abundance into your life. But just know that money is not the root of all evil. Money is good. It's a medium of exchange. It enables us to go out and make a difference in the community, and we can give unto others, and we can live a life that we want for ourselves, whatever that may encompass. It could be luxurious. It could be modest. But whatever it is, money is good. It's a medium of exchange that was created to enable us all to interact fairly with one another. So I'm going to once again say what Joseph Murphy said in his Mental Roads to Wealth. Money flows to me in avalanches of abundance. I use it for good only. And I am grateful for my good and for the riches of my mind. I am so grateful that I have been able to share with you the book, How to Be Rich, a compilation with numerous world-renowned wealth and prosperity authors and teachers and lecturers. I hope and pray that this is seeding greatness and goodness and living a life of wealth and prosperity into your life, and that you shall be rich. Thank you so much for listening. I encourage you to share this with your family, your friends, your Facebook friends, your Twitter friends, your colleagues, your neighbors. Just share it throughout the universe, because wealth and prosperity is for all, and we must share the message throughout the world. Thank you. I'm Carla Cargle with The Financial Truth with Carla Cargle. Wealth is for all. God bless.